gentlemen, and non-binary friends. Welcome back to another episode of Actors with Issues, where we bring you casual chats with the stars of TV, film, and Broadway. As always, I am your host, Juan Ayala. Thanks so much for tuning in. Today's guest is an actor you know and love as Gary Green on the CW's Legends of Tomorrow. Please welcome to the show, Mr. Adam Tsekhman. Adam, welcome to the show. Thanks for being here.
Hey, thanks, Juan. Thanks for having me. Pleasure to be
Absolutely.
here.
So we always start off with a quick game called Getting to Know You. So we're gonna put 90 seconds on the clock and see how many of these questions you can go through. And we'll start with an easy one: coffee or tea,
Coffee.
film or television,
Film.
drama or comedy,
Comedy.
hero or villain,
Villain.
screen acting or stage acting,
Tie.
day off, skiing or beach day,
Beach.
first movie you remember seeing in theaters.
Ooh. The first one that's coming to my head is Coming to America.
Wow, good choice. What's the last show you binge watched?
Pam and Tommy Lee.
Rom-coms or horror?
Rom-coms.
The actor who's had the biggest influence on you.
Sacha Baron Cohen.
What's a movie that never fails to make you laugh?
I mean, I'll stay in the Borat.
And a movie that never fails to make you cry.
Ooh. Love Actually.
Do you have a secret talent?
Oh. No, I don't. Oh, it's a good one. You've stumped me, Juan. You've stumped me. No.
If you could guest star on any TV show, which would you choose?
Curb Your Enthusiasm.
And last question: describe your most memorable audition in 3 words. And memorable can be good or bad, so I leave that up to you.
In 3 words?
Yep.
Concussed, forgot lines.
Oh man. Oh boy, what was that audition for?
Yeah, that's a good story. It was for NCIS.
Okay.
To play like this really like kind of cool but like kind of bad foreign intelligence guy.
Mhm.
And when I was like signing into the audition, there was a kind of the wall sort of like jutted out near the sign-in sheet. So I was just kind of like, I signed in, I sat down, and when I was taking a look at where I am on the sign-in sheet, I saw I was next. Looking at the sheet, she called me, and then I turned my head, and my head just bang against the wall.
Oh.
And I was like, and she wasn't looking at me, so she turned around, she heard it, she's like, oh my God, Adam, are you okay? And I was just thinking about it, and I was like, yeah, I'm fine. And she's like, are you sure? You could sit down and take a few minutes. And I was like, I was trying to be like, no, I'm tired. I was like, no, it's fine. And so I went into the room. There was like, I don't know, 7 or 8 people, writers, producers, director, casting directors.
Mhm.
And they're like, okay, Adam, are you ready? And like, we started the scene, and I completely lost all of the lines, like zero.
Man.
I had nothing in my head. And then it became like a spiral. So I like didn't have the lines, and I was like, oh my God, I don't have the lines. Oh my God, why didn't I just take 10 minutes? She told me to take a break. Why didn't he take a break? I hit my head. And this is all happening in the moment as the scene is rolling. And then I'm like, oh my God, they're all looking at me. I don't know the lines. I don't know what's going on. I should have taken a break. And I should have just like stopped it right there. That's a good lesson. First lesson for the podcast, which whenever auditions come back in person, who knows if they will, everything's on tape now, but when they do, the room is yours. And so if you take control without being, a schmuck about it, and just be like, I'm so sorry, guys. I just like smacked my head. Can I please have 10 minutes? I'm really sorry. It's very embarrassing. But instead, I was just, all that was happening in my head. I finished the audition. I sort of like laughed to myself about how stupid the whole scenario was. I made eye contact with the casting director, who was kind of, there with me, and then walked out in total shame. And then I did not get the job.
I was about to ask, did you get the job?
No.
No. Did you ever make it onto the show at all or no?
I did make it onto the show. Yeah.
All right. There you go.
A year or two later, I luckily got another role on it. So it didn't turn out to be so disastrous that they never called me back, but
Right.
it was a good lesson in you don't need to be all tough. I'm cool, I'm fine.
Right.
You take 10 minutes. They don't care.
Yeah. Unless the character was concussed and it's just method, but otherwise.
Right, exactly. Just a second. I brought a hammer. Let me just smack
Yeah.
myself in the head and I'll be ready to come in.
So, Adam, when did the whole acting journey start for you? Was it something that you got into when you were young, or did that come a little later in life for you?
I did a little bit of theater in high school, but it was there was like drama class. We didn't really have like a theater in high school. So it was kind of for fun. And then, but it really started when I was in undergrad and university. I was studying finance. I was at business school, and I would do extracurricular. Like I started doing theater on the side, kind of like campus theater company.
Yeah.
That's actually a good story too, Juan. Let me share it. So I would go to these not off campus, on campus theater groups. And every time I'd see a show, I'd be like, oh my God, that looks so fun. I wish I could do it. I'd love to do theater. And so one of my friends said to me, she's like, Adam, you should audition for my on-campus theater company. And I was like, okay, yeah, that would be great. So I auditioned. They brought everyone in a room together and said, look, we like all of you guys. Here's the issue. Our theater company, this theater company was called Teatron, was created on campus for religious, no, not only, but for specifically a place for religious Jews to be able to do theater, meaning that they didn't perform or rehearse on the Sabbath. So then they never had shows on Friday night, because that, if you're religious, you can't work on Friday night. And every other theater company, of course, like if you're doing a show, you're always having a show on Friday night. It's like a prime, So anyway, they said, okay, look, so we're choosing this show. The problem is, in this play, the lead male has to kiss the lead female, who's willing to kiss a member of the opposite sex. And I immediately raised my hand, and they're like, great, you're the lead. And so that was after doing that show, I just like fell in love with the feeling of not kissing a girl. That wasn't the thing I'm talking about, but although I enjoy that too. But what I mean was the feeling of being on stage is like the most incredible, at least for me, like healer of everything. If I would have a headache, if I felt sick, if the second you're on stage, it's like your body's like, everything's fine, I'm in the moment, I'm doing it, I don't feel anything except joyful and nervous, but like the great, maybe it's the stage nerves that heal all.
So after you had graduated from university, did you continue studying acting, or did you just sort of try and get started in the industry in terms of like film and television?
Yeah, so I did try. So for a year I tried to like get into film and I had a job offer to do investment banking, which I declined, to work for a company called Lehman Brothers, which doesn't even exist anymore. They actually failed during the financial crisis, and probably because they wanted to hire people like me. But anyway, yeah, I took a year. I realized that I didn't know anything about acting. I was kind of very sort of green. And so then I applied for theater schools, for theater programs. And then I went to grad school for theater a year after that.
Gotcha. And because you had done mostly theater, did you imagine getting into film and TV, or was theater more the route you wanted to go for initially?
I didn't really think about it. Kind of, I guess both. The crazy thing was learning theater. It's interesting. I feel like in New York, because I studied in New York, I feel like in New York, maybe it's changed now, but it was very like the two disciplines were very separated. And and it is different, of course, like acting on stage is different than acting on film, but you have to be able to do both. Like, so yeah. It always surprised me that in grad school, there was not more, it was just like exclusively theater and not more of a push to kind of at least expose us to a little bit of film and TV.
Right.
So I guess I didn't really have goals or plans about what I was gonna do, but I just wanted to like learn
Yeah.
basics.
And I mean, after that, it was probably just the mindset of like work is work. I'll take whoever,
Yeah,
I'll take whatever
totally.
job hires me.
Absolutely. Yeah,
So
which I
fast
still
forward,
have
yeah.
that mindset. I never lose that mindset.
So fast forward to a few years ago, you made your first appearance on Legends of Tomorrow in season 3, and you ended up becoming like a pretty heavily recurring character. And then season 6, you got the series regular. But when you initially auditioned, was there any inkling that it would grow into a larger role, or was it like a one-day guest star or a one episode?
I knew it was coming back. I knew it was 2 or 3 episodes, but definitely they did not know what it was going to be, what the character would be, how, what, anything. And I was really excited because the audition was so funny. It was
Mm.
just a great scene, and I was so happy to I can't wait to shoot this. And they were all dummy sides. They were not, the scene was written by one of the
Oh.
writers as like an audition scene, not to exist in the show. And I was
Yeah.
like, oh, I was so bummed. But but it was I guess they gave me a bunch of stuff to do in that audition, which kind of showed them that I could, I don't know, approach
Mhm.
the show comedically. And that was kind of as the time that the show was shifting into more of a comedy.
So do you remember what your first day on set was like, especially considering your audition? You learned like your audition was not the actual scenes you'd be doing in the show.
I'm trying. It's a good question. First day on set. I mean, I think I had like 1 or 2 words in the first episode that I was in, barely, like, or maybe a line or something.
Hmm.
Maybe it was that first day was on the beach when we had to chase Mick Rory and tackle him. The Vancouver beach
Yeah.
made to be Aruba, I guess, where they had like a toga
Yeah.
party. So yeah, I mean, I was nervous to meet Dom, although he was great. It was, but I don't remember specifically feeling. Here's the great thing about that show is like the crew is so lovely. Everyone really is like so kind and sweet, and we have an incredibly positive, friendly, loving vibe on set. Now, also that could also be me, Juan, because I kind of wear rose-colored glasses. Everything, I'm like, what? That person is not nice. I think we're very nice. They're like, what are you talking about? That person's a total asshole. I'm like, really? I had no idea. That always happens. So maybe I'm completely just like didn't see any issues, but
Mhm.
I didn't. It was great.
So I have to ask about the very beginning of season 6 is when we find out that Gary's actually an alien the entire time that we've known him. Um, I mean, none of us saw that coming, that's for sure. But were you given advance notice of that, or was like the table read the first time that you had read that?
No, I knew, I had heard at the end of season 5
Mm.
that they were talking about that they hadn't decided for sure, but that was definitely on the table.
Mm.
So then I had to like really think about, okay, what did I do in the last 3 seasons that could like justify me with an alien shit? So I just kind of like was okay, yeah, Gary did do that, and that was super weird. Like a human being wouldn't,
Mm.
in the scene in where he doesn't really understand if he's a virgin or not. I was like, that's a little weird. Okay, maybe okay, that's something I can point to as like an example of Gary not understanding the human body. So it was fun though. I was really excited. I was like, oh my god, that's a huge twist. That's gonna
Mm.
be interesting.
So you've worked on the show before and now during the pandemic, and given that it's such a large ensemble piece, were there any significant challenges coming back to the show after lockdowns since 2020, really?
um I mean, we not really. Look, I mean, it was not easy for everyone to be masking all the time, but it kind of quickly, and we had to test 3 times a week pretty
Mm.
aggressively. So credit to the production for being so like organized, and the testing was so like quick and easy and effective. at the beginning it was like there was a little bit of growing pains, but ultimately, the weird part was like when you would see somebody in the crew, I mean, the actors, we see each other's faces all the time, but then you start to like forget what people look like because you just see their eyes, and then suddenly you see their mouth and you're like, whoa, weird. People become unrecognizable without their mask, which is such a strange change. But there were a few cases in the crew over the course of a year and a half, and they were dealt with really quickly and smartly, and those people isolated for the amount of time that they needed to. Then they came back, and it was very I think it was handled really well, and didn't really, surprisingly, was not as big of an issue as we thought it might have been.
Yeah, I can imagine. But because you guys are, again, it's such an ensemble show, it was probably easier for you all to like try and contain yourselves
Totally.
and all of that.
And luckily we didn't have any outbreaks in the cast. I mean, if the cast started getting ill, then it probably would have spread the cast, and then we probably would have had to take a break up with shooting the show. Luckily it didn't get there, and part of that, and really because people were wearing masks, and it was not, if somebody did catch it, it never kind of spread, which was pretty amazing. And because we were testing so much, we were very clear about the scenario. So so it was expertly done. We were lucky that we could continue doing it. Honestly, it was pretty amazing.
And looking back at your career so far, is there anything that comes to mind of like that you have learned that you wish you knew earlier on?
I guess like maybe like there's no such thing as an overnight success. Even the actors that you're like, oh yeah, that person, whoa, they're the leader, I've never seen this person before.
Where'd they come from?
Yeah, where'd they come from? It just doesn't, I mean, sure, look, it happens. There are people that suddenly are like, whoa, what, they literally their first audition and they got this movie and now they're a big star. But ultimately that's 99% of the time, each job is a step, which leads to another job, blah, 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 step, and then eventually, hopefully, you can get something that is a little more what's the word I'm looking for? A little more substantial. But even then, even those people with substantial things are like, okay, well, what's gonna come next? I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, I can imagine, because you're dealing with so many years of trial and error and rejection, that when you do get something, maybe that imposter syndrome sets in. You're like, okay, can't get your hopes up. You have to like, eyes on the prize.
Absolutely. Yeah. I still have a very workman-like mentality with this stuff. Like, I don't know what the next job's going to be, and I'm always impressed sometimes also with actors who have the opposite perception, which is just like, nah, I'll be fine. Whatever. I'll move on to something else. Just like, are you crazy? How do you know? But actually, maybe that confidence, that quiet confidence, helps them, because when you do feel as though it's not going to be a problem, then the desperation doesn't sort of seep into your work,
And like, so no two actors' journeys are alike. So we all deal with the number of struggles as artists, whether it is imposter syndrome or lack of diversity or typecasting. The list goes on, really. Is there any obstacle that you've overcome that you're comfortable sharing with our audience? Because a lot of our audience are like young actors and artists. So anything come to mind?
Well, in regards to typecasting, I have an opposite perspective, which I think it's a good thing. I was typecast for a long time before playing Gary, and I had no problem with it. Maybe I'm the rare exception, but like, I played bad guys, every kind of like bad guy with every kind of accent on every kind of show. And I heard, I forget where this came from, but the word typecast has the word cast in it, which means you've been cast, which means you have a job. So like, I think whatever angle you can find to narrow down actually your type, it's better. There's too many people. So like, if someone looks at you, oh, Juan, I see you as the blah 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 blah, great, now I can sell you as this. Because agents and managers, like, even if they represent you and they know you're super talented and can play a lot of things, there's so many people that like you have to, that there has to be an angle. And so my advice is get typecast, people. Get typecast. It's good for you.
Yeah. So I don't know if you knew, but I'm also an actor, and I, do these podcasts, and a journalist as well, and many things to keep the lights
Amazing.
on. But it is having that. It's having that marketing mindset. It's like, what's your brand? What's your, and mind you,
Totally.
a friend of mine who's a coach, she doesn't like to use the word like what's your type. Instead, she uses the word essence, which to me is
Sure.
genius, because it's like, what do we get hints of when we meet you or when we see you? That sort of essence instead of like type, because it can be a little boxed in. But like you said, typecasting means you're booking the job. It's a good problem to have.
Yes.
Like, oh no, you're playing the drug dealer in every show in New York. Well, how many credits is that? How are those residuals? Like all these
Exactly. And
different things.
nobody's watching. Here's the other thing. Like people are sometimes worried about like, oh, I played this on this show and people are gonna know. Like nobody's watching anything. They look at your resume. They're like, oh, he's done Law and Order. Oh, he's done this. He's done. Oh,
Right.
great. Like that's what's important. It's not important. Fine. It's important for your demo reel, of course.
Right.
To have some variety helps. Let's potentially, but actually the opposite helps too. Like, oh wow, this is the guy we can hire to be the drug dealer. He's
Right.
awesome and blah 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 blah. And then it's like, I guess then the question is, okay, so then how do you get out of that? Well, I mean, the more jobs you book, the more bookable you become for other jobs, and not only that, the more people you meet, and I guess like that is really the most important part of this industry, which is like the people you meet and befriend are the people that are going to help you succeed.
Yeah.
Not that you need to be like, oh, I'm gonna network and find but it's important. It's very important. Actually my Legends job is purely for that reason. I never would have gotten the audition had I not been friends with Grania, who was one of the writers and EPs of the show. She called me. She's like, Adam, we're working on this character. I think you'd be great for it.
Mm.
Had she not done that, I never would have even had the opportunity. So it's
Right.
just, it's like I was reading some article about jobs in tech. And one of the recruiters was saying, or what, an employee in tech, he's like, yeah, you can submit your application, but that's not the way to get a job. It's always
Right.
like connecting with someone who can get your application to the right person. It's just,
Right.
it's the same thing. I mean, not that auditions don't work, they do, but like, you need to attack from all angles. And,
Yeah.
what you're doing is amazing because you're meeting, not only are you doing acting, but by doing the podcast, you're meeting a bunch of people, befriending a bunch of people. And, that's always a positive.
Yeah. I mean, it's the way that I got my first network job was the same. I worked on a show called Blind Spot that shot here in New York, and uh,
Yes.
I my mentor knew one of the producers and just sort of put my name on their radar and was like, well, if there's something, if it's a co-star or something pops up. And I played a lab tech on the show for 4 episodes, and that ended up, got me my first reps and all this other stuff. So it's like you
Amazing.
said, it's all about networking. And mind you, my mentors don't usually go out of the way to do that kind of stuff. They're just there to mentor you and teach you. But it's, you have to show your work ethic and all of that. And
Totally.
yeah.
And like
Yeah.
for your mentor, ultimately, it's not that big of a deal to say, hey, look out for my
Right.
mentee Juan. He's great, and whatever. And then most of the time, probably they'll just be like, cool, and nothing will happen. But
Right.
and this is a great example of it turning out great for you. Like that's amazing.
Yeah. So I don't want to take up too much more of your time, so we're gonna wrap up with our last round of questions. It's non-rapid fire, so no
Oh,
need to worry about
I
the
love the
countdown.
rapid fire. I was ready for a full podcast of rapid fire.
It's called Now That We Know You, since we've gotten to chat for the last half hour. So first, fill in the blank. If I weren't working in the arts, I'd be.
Working in sales.
What is something you wish you had more time to do?
Read books. Travel.
Who would you trade
Binge
places
TV
with
show.
for?
No, I'm just gonna keep.
Who would you trade places with for one day?
Ooh. Um, LeBron James.
What is the best advice you've ever gotten?
Um, I'm just gonna continue down this path. It's not what you know, it's who you know.
And what's the worst advice you've ever gotten?
It's not what you know, it's who you know.
What was your biggest takeaway from the pandemic?
Tell people you love them.
And in 10 words or less, what advice would you give to a young actor?
Keep on creating things that you enjoy and make you happy. Keep on creating things you enjoy and make you happy. 12 words. Shit. That you enjoy. Period.
There you go. Slash happy, you know. Awesome. Well, Adam, thank you so much for being on the show today, man. It's been such a pleasure chatting with you.
Great meeting you on.
Absolutely. So for anyone who wants to follow you on Instagram or Twitter, anything, where can they find you?
At Tseky, Tseky.
Awesome. And you can all follow us on Instagram at Actors with Issues. Give me a follow at Juan Ayala Official. And if you enjoyed today's episode, don't forget to subscribe to the show wherever you're listening. Catch new episodes every Monday and go follow our new YouTube channel. You can watch our video interviews on there as well. And don't miss Adam Tsekhman in the return of Legends of Tomorrow, Wednesday, February 23rd, 8 p.m. ET on the CW. I'm Juan Ayala, and you're listening to Actors with Issues.